Hey everyone, how's it going? If you enjoyed this video, let me know with a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more like this in the future. 20 years ago today came the first release of a game series that made waves for its unusual take on the action genre. It was August 23, 2001 when Devil May Cry hit stores in Japan, reaching North American markets 2 months later, and eventually PAL regions in December of that same year. This PlayStation 2 title quickly gained critical praise for its high difficulty and use of rewards for combo attacks. For a game that successfully evolved the action genre, it had a very interesting start on the drawing board. Back in December 1999, IGN caught hints of a new Biohazard, aka Resident Evil title in the works from Capcom, which was confirmed by the series producer, Shinji Mikami. The earliest iteration of what was intended to be Resident Evil 4 was handed to Hideki Kamiya as the game's director. While Kamiya had worked on some of the earlier Resident Evil titles, he had started to pitch new ideas for the fourth entry with series writer Nobuo Shigemura. The game would sport a more gothic setting. Fixed pre-rendered backgrounds would be replaced by more dynamic 3D renderings. And most of all, the main character, story, and gameplay would be really cool and stylish. Of course, this stylishness didn't sit too well with Mikami due to how much it strayed from the roots that Resident Evil was known for, that being survival horror. And so it was decided that this development would become separate from the Biohazard franchise. In November 2000, under a new title, Devil May Cry was officially announced, and after 20 years since its release, it finally found its way into my completion list. For the most part, the gameplay is exactly what I expected it to be, for better and for worse. Having already played Bayonetta, a later title that was also produced by Kamiya under Platinum Games, I was quickly reminded of the seemingly crushing difficulty in the first few chapters. But in the same way, I also found myself quickly improving as I continued on, learning the enemy attacks, countering, and scoring lengthy combos for upgrade points. And I'm not even kidding, I nearly gave up early on due to the sheer amount of times I was getting killed. I swear the game was gaslighting me, making me think, is Devil May Cry supposed to be this hard, or do I just really suck at this? And in turn, it proceeded to mentally crush me into a fine paste. Either way, persistence prevailed, and I feel like I've grown a few more chest hairs for the effort. The part that really amazed me was the progression of difficulty. While the first couple of boss encounters had me raging, later levels really started to balance out better after I was able to start boosting my abilities and stats. And once again, comparing it to Bayonetta, even the harder modes seemed easier after you've beaten the game once. Either way, there are quite a few factors in Devil May Cry that guarantee that it won't be any walk through the park. It's actually running through an evil castle, with demons, and yeah, all that. Gaining abilities is a major deal in Devil May Cry, not only to obtain better attacks, but also to improve your ability to gain high combo scores against your enemies. A higher combo nets you with more rewards in the form of red orbs, which are essentially money for upgrading your abilities and buying consumable items. You also get extra rewards depending on how quickly you clear a chapter combined with how many red orbs you collected. But the real beef is in the combat. There certainly isn't a huge variety of enemies that you'll face, but for the most part, each encounter will keep you on your toes while you make your way through the dreaded castle setting. Once you've acquired more abilities and weapons, you'll find yourself slashing through enemies and launching them into the air while you wail on them with a barrage of bullets and other attacks, ultimately increasing your style rank. This kind of combo scoring had previously been reserved for fighting games. In fact, the first introduction of scoring combo points came in Super Street Fighter II. Unblockable combos were never intended in the Street Fighter series, but were discovered by accident during development, and it was simply left in the code. Once players started to discover and exploit this combo timing, Capcom embraced the flaw. And just as this unintended feature set the standards of future fighting games, Devil May Cry would also change the landscape of 3D action game development. Its influence can be seen in games like Darksiders, Dante's Inferno, God of War, and many others. But if there's one reason to play Devil May Cry, it's not just for the action, it's for the wonderfully ridiculous story and campy dialogue that Capcom is so well known for. Being very loosely themed on the Divine Comedy, you play the role of Dante, a devil hunter for hire who loves a challenge. This too-cool-for-school hero gets a shot at revenge when a mysterious lady rams through the door on a motorcycle just because, and tells Dante that the evil demon lord who killed his mom and brother is about to make his return to the human world, giving Dante an opportunity to settle the score. Oh, also, Dante's dad is a demon, but like a good demon, like a knight or something, and he's dead too. All of these things make Dante super badass, trust me on this. Outside of that, the game mostly pits us against a number of monsters summoned by the demon lord Mundus, so that his return goes unhindered. All of these bosses you'll fight repeatedly in different chapters, such as the first you'll encounter and hate the most for the rest of the game. Yes, screw you, Phantom. I hate you, Phantom. Just stay dead already, thank you. As well as the mysterious Nello Angelo, who rivals even Dante's coolness, cause, spoiler alert, he's actually Dante's brother who is alive somehow. How did that happen? Dunno, cause it gets a 5-second reveal before moving on and forgetting he even existed. Oh, and did I mention campy? Because if you needed more evidence of that, here you go.
I should have been the one to fill your dark soul with light!
Yeah, that. For all its insanity, Devil May Cry spawned a number of sequels, the second being panned heavily by fans and critics, as the development appeared rushed and had an overall weaker design, with lower difficulty. Thankfully, the third entry returned stronger and remains a fan favorite, with sequels 4 and 5 also getting favorable ratings. There was even a reboot developed by Ninja Theory, which didn't have the worst reviews post-launch, but still left a bad taste in the mouths of many die-hard fans of the series, including Hideki Kamiya, who expressed disappointment in the game's direction. This spin-off was first announced roughly a year after Platinum Games had released Bayonetta, which had already received much praise as a spiritual successor to the Devil May Cry franchise. Kamiya had later expressed interest in creating a complete remaster of the first game, pitching to Capcom that it would be the most amazing hack and slash ever. Unfortunately, Capcom has yet to agree to the offer. In addition to the series of games, Devil May Cry also found its way into a number of light novels and manga, as well as a 12-part anime series by Madhouse. In 2018, the rights were acquired by Adi Shankar, producer of the popular Netflix Castlevania animation, to create a new anime series for the Devil May Cry franchise, something that I'm personally looking forward to. So how does the first Devil May Cry hold up today? Well, not great, and with respect, most games developed in the first couple of years of the PlayStation 2's life haven't aged all that well.
How much longer are you going to keep zapping?
This is just to be expected. My one consistent gripe about the game had to be the dynamic camera angles. I never was a fan of the static views from the early Resident Evil titles, and the addition of more dynamic angles in Devil May Cry didn't win me over much better. It certainly gives a more cinematic look to the game at times, but it also adds a lot of irritation when the camera suddenly changes, or when you find yourself being attacked by an enemy that's hidden out of frame. Silent Hill occasionally used similar cinematic camera angles, but this didn't bother me as much since it wasn't that frequent, not to mention it was also a much slower-paced game. Devil May Cry has had HD remasters and PC ports for each of the console releases in the series, which is what I used for this playthrough. If you were to compare it to just about any 3D action game that came after it, Devil May Cry's shallow plot centered around over-the-top characters just makes the whole concept rather absurd, which kind of adds to the charm. I find it amazing that this was nearly going to be what would be known as Resident Evil 4. And I think one of the things that I like most is, Resident Evil 4 had some of my favorite music and sound design for a video game. Its spooky atmospheric composition was perfect for the setting. The music in Devil May Cry is very similar, having shared composers between the two games. It really enhances the sinister feeling inside the castle and ramps up nicely during enemy encounters. If you're interested in the series and want to give it a shot from the beginning, I'd say go for it. Just keep in mind that the early parts of the game can be a rough ride, not to mention you'll have to get used to some rather disorienting camera work. If you can get past that, the rest of the game is well worth a playthrough. That's it for this session. I hope you all enjoyed. Until next time, I'll catch you on the flip side.